apparently having limited resources and not a whole lot of money to record an album with was an inspiring combination for instrumental artists in the 80s. Taking a page out of Ray Lynch's Deep Breakfast, it's linked down below, maybe up there. This is Joe Satriani's Surfing with the Alien. He creates an epic, well-paced, timeless rock opera that is polished yet remains quite adventurous. Welcome everybody to One Man's Tracks. Today, this is obviously what we're talking about. With only a handful of guitars, some drum mixing, and some percussive help from some friends, Surfing with the Alien remains outstanding amidst rock operas like Meat Loaf's Bat Outta Hell. But also, it manages to maintain a swagger and a style that you'd hear more from like a jazz fusion album. I find digging into instrumental music a pretty fun challenge because sometimes, depending on my mood, I can interpret a song one way or another. A notable feature of a good instrumental is music that can convey that emotion and feeling regardless of whatever my mood is coming into it. This is a shining example of that, and I'm going to get diving right into it right now. The entire project has been combed through, polished up start to finish. Even some of the solos have been a little edited, but Satriani's prowess on the guitar managed to hold true to the rock and roll spirit, and even a purist can appreciate some of this stuff. The opening track, which has the same name as the album, whooshes in with the similar rock and roll progression that you'd find on a Judas Priest song, maybe Locked In. Joe then piles onto it with wailing, surfy guitar solos with as much whammy as a kid with star power. He sounds like he's having just a lot of fun making his guitar scream and fill that void that's sometimes left by vocals and lyrics in the song. Onto Ice 9, a track that's named after a metastable form of solid water from Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle. It's perfectly paced, notably pretty dense, with multi-layered, electric, industrial-sounding guitars. This track and the next track, Crushing Day, are super gripping and really well focused. They feel like bonus tracks on the fantastic soundtrack that is the Sonic Adventure Battle 2 from GameCube. Speaking of Crushing Day, it's my favorite on the track list. It keeps the album cruising at a solid clip with more Dragon Force-esque solos that give this track a satisfying sense of urgency. Gotta go fast. There's a subtle shift in tone in the second half of this one that makes it feel like a boss battle that you can definitely win if you just focus hard. Not only is this a wonderful fusion of rock and roll and jazz, it manages to fuse the feelings that you get from video games and even anime. Always With Me, Always With You is a slower, more chilled out, watery intermission from the wailing, ripping guitars that have been bombarding us from the get-go. The guitar solos can't be escaped though. They're just a little more mellowed out, but waily as ever. It leads into what sounds like the solo section in Foreigner's Jukebox Hero that provides a fun crescendo and a soft landing on this floaty daydream. They start off the next song with fast, jazzy drums called Satch Boogie. This was the highest charting song at 22 in the States. I like to think of this one as an aggressive homage to Johnny B. Good with laser-plucked guitar solos with some super dope burning explosion effects. I'll play them in the background right now. Don't forget to turn up the volume for this next track, Hill of the Skull. It's the deepest, most epic track on the whole album. If you're the real bad guy, the super villain of this episode, then look no further, because this is your epic intro music. It's anthemic and operatic as hell. If you're the hero, prepare for a mega showdown, because it's fucking on with this one. The album is now faced with the impossible task of following up that great, gigantic build, and it doesn't really do that bad of a job. It quickly just lets you know what the next song's gonna be, sticks with it, and grabs hold of you as soon as those solos come back in. This one's called Circles, and it starts off, again, slower, slightly more brooding, but as the hero moves forward, away from comfort, onto uncertainty, he breaks through the gates triumphantly with great fanfare and fun experimental, shredding triumphantly forward, but ultimately mellowing out, coming back to where they came from, and fading out with some cool, soothing bongos. Shout out Bongo Bob Smith. And these nice wind chimes that just breeze right through to the next track. On a similar note to the title track, Lords of Karma provides probably the least waily guitars besides the next track on the entire album, maybe if you disregard a transition or two here. Around the halfway point of this one, Satriani pitches his guitar in a strange way that makes it almost sound Arabic, sort of sitar-y. This track and the next track are great, but there's sort of a foray into more of an interesting six-string experimentation than anything that sticks truer to the adventurous feeling of this album. So with the track Midnight, it sounds like Joe's using some weird tapping technique to create this really cool reverby, echoey solo effect, and he complements it with some spine-tickling arpeggios that, ooh, I'm certainly glad for this little experimental sidebar before the closer. Echo being the closer and the longest on the track list, it redefines that brooding sensation that you get interlaced in the Always With Me, Always With You track, with these slightly reminiscent solos that bring the track back up from their sort of end credits rolling feeling every few minutes or so. This is a great closer that feels lonely yet determined. Moving forward, this track marches on out into the distance. Having had multiple re-releases and selling over 1 million copies in the States, you're bound to stumble upon this one of these days. And when you do find it, definitely pick it up. It's a marvel of an instrumental rock CD, and if you have deliveries to do, or just errands to run, a couple of these tracks are the ideal backtrack for your life. But you better be quick and savor every minute, because at only 38 minutes long, this album will have you clicking repeat right away as soon as you end it. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope you get a fun kick out of this album. Subscribe over here, like the video, share it with your friends. Surf on, boys!